tell us about your book.
Charlie, my book is called The American Dream is a Terrible Thing to Waste. And really, it's about how to build an entrepreneur mindset. You know, you mentioned before my podcast called The Agents of Innovation, which Adam Andrzejewski was on the podcast. And there's a chapter on Adam in the book. Really what I did is after I hit about 100 episodes, I've been doing this podcast, now about 8 or 9 years, 1 or 2 episodes a month, just interviewing entrepreneurs about their story. I'm really interested in their journey. It's like the journey of Charlie Kirk, right? Like where did you come from? What's your what were all the challenges? What are all the ups and downs? So a lot of times when we meet a successful entrepreneur, we meet them at their point of success. We don't realize, like Adam said, after 10 years, he was an overnight success, right? So what I did is after I hit 100 episodes, I wanted to actually kind of celebrate the first 100 episodes by writing a book, and I brought together. I literally reviewed all the episodes, and I said, what are the kind of 10 common characteristics of the entrepreneur? Well, entrepreneurs are problem solvers. They're lifelong learners. They're doers, right? I mean, it's important to be a dreamer. It's more important to be a doer, right? You got to be a doer. There are people who are also formed by experiences. Some of those experiences could be work ethic. Some of them could be travel experiences. But if you think about nowadays, we talk a lot about you don't necessarily need a college education, right? You didn't need one to do what you're doing, but you do need to have formative experiences of some kind, because you just don't, work ethic doesn't just show up. You got to actually build it over time. Incredible. I started asking a lot of my podcast guests over time what their first job was. I was shocked that so many of them, like Adam, had a paper route. That was just a common thing. They found time in the morning before school to earn a few bucks. That's the kind of thing like, being an entrepreneur is not something that most people can do. But most people can build an entrepreneur mindset. And why I called this the American dream is a terrible thing to waste is because right now, Charlie, you and I both know a lot of people are down on the American dream.
Big time.
Especially young people. There's a lot of excuses, I think, but there's also a lot of, there's a lot of challenges in today's economy. There's inflation, right? Whether you want to thank Joe Biden for that or whoever you want to thank for that, there's a lot of issues. AI is on the horizon. I mean, it's becoming more of our life every day. Is that taking away jobs, right? So a lot of young people see a lot of opportunities being lost that maybe they think their parents or grandparents had more opportunities. What I say though is let's recognize the challenges.
Yes.
Let's work in the public policy realm to fix some of those challenges, right? But let's not forget that in this country, if you want to succeed, you can. And there are opportunities everywhere. Why do you think 11 million people have come across the border? Because they see opportunities everywhere here. I mean, the immigrants walk into this country and they see opportunities everywhere. Just like the entrepreneur sees opportunities where other people don't. Immigrants see opportunities where maybe, us here that have been born and raised in the United States don't see as many. Maybe we see them being lost. So I say that you can achieve the American dream. You can find those opportunities by building the entrepreneur mindset.
What would you say is a unique characteristic that entrepreneurs have that people wouldn't always think of immediately?
People wouldn't always think of immediately.
The lifelong learner one's interesting.
Yeah, I think lifelong learner. One of the things that I really found with entrepreneurs, especially a lot of people on my podcast, because you're in the middle of a conversation, not necessarily. How many times in the middle of an interview has somebody just mentioned a book that has been impactful to them, or mentioned an author or something like that? And it's not even just reading a book. It could also be, why do people in business go to conferences, right? I think one of the biggest things is building a network.
Yeah.
Everything is not. It's not just about what you know; it's who you know. And entrepreneurs are always the kind of people that are building relationships. And so I think those are kind of the types of things. I'm going to be having actually a new book come out in a few months, which will be volume 2.
Oh, so that the next 100 episodes, or yeah?
Well, actually, so I couldn't tell all the 100 stories in one book. So I have about 45 stories in this book. I continue that in volume 2, but in volume 2, I come up with 10 new characteristics that are focused on the heart.
And you also travel a lot. I get your emails.
Yeah.
You're always somewhere. And you've been in 9 countries this year, right?
9 countries this year.
This is still the greatest place on the planet.
This is. Every time I travel, I think I've been to 34 countries now.
That's a big number.
It's a big number. And
not quite Dennis Prager. Dennis is at 129.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. No, there's people that are closing in on all of them, right? So, but the one thing that you find, first of all, I think that travel is so, I encourage it because it's so formative to who I am.
I totally agree.
And
It forces you to get out of your house. And
yeah, and even if you just travel to another state, right? There's some
sure.
people that never leave their own state, they never leave. But I think what's important about even leaving the country, first of all, you find that there's a universal nature to human beings, that what they care about, but also every time you leave the United States,
makes you appreciate this place more.
really do.